solution.
Yeah, there you go. More people died with drones than on 9/11.
We need that authority.
They need to authorize the use of force against ISIS. They're
droning,
degrade and destroy ISIS.
Arming them and training them and giving them weapons, and then
they always sell these things as surgical strikes, and yet, even by their own statistics, there's far more innocent civilians that are killed than targets of interest. And that's not even to say they're targets of interest or valid targets in the first place.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I can vouch for that 100%.
Yeah, we're never allowed to question
that. So many times they kill so many innocent people for no reason. And then half the time, the target that they're going for isn't even in the building.
Yes,
right.
Yes. And then, of course, Joe, was that a valid target in the first place? Who reviews that?
Yeah, exactly.
We don't know. We don't even know if the target was even valid to start with, besides all the innocent people that were.
Yeah, that famous video from WikiLeaks, I believe it was a helicopter shooting down the crowd, and there was a couple journalists with their cameras, and then the guy pulls up with his kids in the car, and they shoot at the guy with his kids, and they're like, well, he shouldn't have brought his kids to a war zone. He lives in a freaking war zone. It's not like, he lives in Austin. He can just drive down I-35 to Houston or something.
Right.
He's bragging about how they're pushing us to the brink of World War III, and of course...
He's pushing us to that.
Yes, exactly. Talking about what he's doing in the Ukraine.
Such a success.
And of course, that is necessary, and that's the other part of this manipulation of the price of oil. It's not just to get rid of domestic oil production, but it is also to prepare for war because they're concerned about the global economy not coming back.
Yeah, now he's talking about Cuba. And he knows the Russians are trying to get friendly with them again, so he wants to swoop in there first.
When what you're doing doesn't work for 50 years, it's time to try something new.
Hey, we could apply that test to our own government and just about every one of the aspects that they're doing.
Their government hasn't changed at all. It's just the...
It removes a phony excuse for restrictions in Cuba. Stands up for democratic
waterboarding people and not getting any valuable intel for years hasn't stopped him from continuing to do that.
Begin the work of ending
could he make that same metric with the war on drugs? Hey, if it ain't working for 50 years, it's time we stop and do something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As His Holiness Pope Francis has said.
He's always going to quote the Pope.
Diplomacy is the work of small steps. These small steps have added up to new hope for the future in Cuba. And after years in prison, we are overjoyed that Alan Gross is back.
Again, you're listening to our Prison Planet live coverage of the State of the Union. If you're not a Prison Planet subscriber, please consider supporting our operation. We have a special right now, $29.95. That's just $2.50 a month. You can share that now with 20 other friends. That works out just 12 cents a person per month. And it's a way that you can support this operation here. And of course, we have the nightly news every Monday through Friday at 7 Central.
And we put out 2 free streams today, one on Infowars.com/show, and then another one on our YouTube channel. And so if you're watching these on any of those, it's a great way to help support what we're doing. Get the equipment here, get reporters in the chairs, send reporters out in the field. We do it with all your support, so we really do appreciate it at prisonplanet.tv, and it's a great deal right now. This is the best deal we've ever had for Prison Planet.
And I keep all options on the table to prevent a nuclear run.
They had the...
They do. They just had the all-seeing eye as part of their monitoring program. There it is, right there in the bottom right hand.
Unprecedented transparency.
The all-seeing eye.
Monitoring.
We will monitor the program.
We will hijack
I guess that's the NSA is watching them, right? Is that
Please step into your health booth. Thank you for your service.
Starts up its nuclear program
This is Watson.
Doesn't make sense. And that's why I will veto any new sanctions bill that threatens to undo this progress.
Oh, there he's talking about his veto.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Wasn't it just recently that we used Stuxnet to hack these guys, and now we've got to protect them?
I mean, he just completely flip-flopped.
Oceania was our enemy forever, and now East Eurasia.
We're looking beyond the issues that have consumed us in the past.
We just flip sides.
He is definitely the president of change, that's for sure.
No hacker.
And we need the hope.
Shut down our networks, steal our trade secrets, or invade the privacy of American families.
Well, it's not so much these foreign people I'm worried about hacking me, it's the domestic ones.
Yes.
The NSA and all your merry men.
Aaron Schwartz pointed that out. That virtually all the hacks were funded and the exploits created by our government for their use. And of course, it was the CFAA, which is the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act,
Tonight I urge
which he wants to expand. He wants to change things that were misdemeanors into major felonies and apply the RICO statute. So we're going to talk about the implications of that when we do some analysis.
Oh, so he's going to, smartphones, vehicles. You were talking about that last night, I think,
Yeah,
David.
vehicles,
electrical grids. And even back when Clinton was in office, they were warning about putting all of our infrastructure on the internet. They said, do not do that, and they did it anyway.
We'll leave our nation.
Yeah, what's the plan B for when we do have some sort of a solar storm or hackers
It's like,
take down
oops.
our infrastructure, our entire
Why don't you ask
economy?
Michael Hastings about being hacked?
Yeah.
Well, you
Yeah,
can't.
absolutely.
Yeah.
West Africa, our troops, our scientists,
We were just watching Jurassic Park again the other night.
our healthcare
And the
workers,
point, they get into the electric vehicles and start going, and they have steering wheels that they can't control.
spread of disease.
And
Oh, here comes
Travis said,
Ebola.
this is not going to work out good. we know how this movie plays out. We've seen it in Jurassic Park. It's going to happen in real life. We
Are the
can't
number of
control
new
the vehicles.
Ebola cases declining, or are they just hiding the actual cases that are out there?
Exactly.
And the world needs to use
Reported Ebola cases are declining.
effective global effort to prevent the spread of future pandemics, invest in smart development, and eradicate extreme poverty.
And exactly what did they do to keep it from spreading? I thought they brought sick people back here and
Play by the
Yeah,
rules.
did not follow quarantine
I think that
procedures.
U.S.-led efforts for
What
containment.
did that guy say, Biggs? We went to that press conference, and he was
It's like,
like,
I'm just going to stick my hand in this,
Yeah, in
bowl,
this
of
bowl of Ebola.
and I'm just going to rub it all in this
He's
Ebola.
like,
If I don't
"There's
have a
no
cut in my
chance."
hand, I'm not going to get it.
Zero.
and then the next day,
There's
like,
zero chance.
people start getting sick and falling out dead and all kinds of stuff is wild.
It's not like when you sweat your pores open up in your hands and kind of take something in. It's not going to happen. That's crazy.
Yeah.
There's zero chance.
I mean, how crazy was it that Ebola was everywhere and then literally stopped
Yeah, it
being
just fell
reported
off the
on
map.
overnight?
14
And no thanks to them, because they followed no procedure.
now here he comes with
violated all
this.
the protocols. Yep.
Now, 1 year doesn't make a trend, but this does.
This is the thing. He said he's going to do this without the Congress because he's got the EPA to work with him. He's got his executive orders. He's got the EPA's bureaucratic regulations that they create, which supersede the laws of Congress because Congress isn't doing anything. So this is why some of his stuff this year is really more important than typically, because he's not going to follow the usual checks and balances of the Constitution.
Good science.
And here, Mark Moreno
Yeah.
of Climate Depot, we're talking about 1/100th of a degree. It's not even, you can't even actually measure it.
Changing the climate.
And only 38% said that they thought it was heating.
Yeah,
So
and
what even,
my
it's
under-
Well, a
not even
couple
a
of-
consensus.
Yeah, Drudge, a couple of days afterward, they came out and they said, we're really disappointed in how they reported this because it's only 38%
Migration,
accurate.
conflict.
So 60% of the time, it's right all
And
the
these
time.
60% of
wildfires
the times
are
it
burning
works every
U.S.
time.
acres because they don't allow people to take care of their land.
That's right.
They have all these federal areas set aside that they don't let people set up fire berms. There's all kind of things you can do to take care of your land to mitigate wildfires, but they
Right.
don't let
They don't-
anybody onto the land.
They don't let you take out standing
Exactly.
dead trees. They don't
Oh,
let you
yeah.
take out falling dead trees. And that's why these areas
You might
like
hurt an
Yellowstone burn so quickly, why Bastrop, just outside of Austin, burns so quickly. And then they come back after the fact and tell people in the communities, clear out the dead wood that's fallen on your own property, but they won't do it on the lands that they control.
To make sure that American leadership drives international
Now,
action.
this picture of this woman, this young girl trying to breathe, it was just today that we had another revelation of the EPA putting diesel fumes, feeding diesel fumes directly to children. What was it, 10 to 17 or
Yeah.
something like that? In California, we've already reported on how they did that in North Carolina to adults they'd selected for people with respiratory and heart conditions. And the EPA gave them levels that were more than 70 times what the EPA said were fatal. They fed that to them.
And then they were doing it on young.
But don't put a fire in your fireplace to heat your home.
That's
Right.
Right.
That's damaging to the environment, but we're going to just go ahead and make people breathe diesel fumes
Yes.
and
Yeah.
call it a scientific experiment.
That's the example of
Yeah.
our values. As Americans, we respect human dignity even when we're threatened,
Oh,
which is
boy.
why I have prohibited
Unless you
torture
get hit with one of our
and work to make
drones.
sure
Okay, now hold on. He's talking about torture. It was my understanding before he got elected, he was going to shut down Guantanamo Bay and all these other horrific practices. And now we even have Dianne Feinstein, who I'm not a fan of at all. She's paying lip service to it. But even she's talking about these torture reports now.
The Obama administration and the Justice Department did everything they could to keep everything that the CIA had done quiet. He is always looking for things to blame on the Bush administration, but he will cover for everything that the Bush administration did in terms of CIA torture. They did not want any of that to come out, even though we got a highly redacted report. The only reason we got that was because the CIA got Dianne Feinstein and her staffers angry because she found out they were spying on her.
Yeah, that's
Right.
fine when they
And
spy on us, but I think it was like a CBS interview. It's just like a drone was looking at me. I'm like, oh, I'm sure it didn't want to.
And it was a little slap on the wrist, basically, of the torture report. Like, there you go. Here's just a little taste of what they were doing.
Yeah. And then they wrote their own report and said, we exonerate ourselves.
Right.
Commitment to justice.
They had a huge website rolled out the very next day.
To spend $3 million per prisoner to keep open a prison that the world condemns and terrorists use to recruit.
We're 6 years into your administration. Why don't you close it down?
Responsibly to cut the population.
He says
of
it
Gitmo
every
in
year.
He's got that pen. All he's got to do is sign the
Yeah, you
paper.
got your
and
pen
they
in your
close.
phone,
Right.
and, you know, Air Force One.
Do
Use your
something, guy.
phone,
You got the
use your
pen and paper. Let's
He's
go.
been
Put it to
trading
work.
prisoners for...
It's still
Left and
Bush's
right.
fault. You know, apparently this late, second term, it's still Bush's fault that Guantanamo Bay is up and running.
We got to close it. I'm just
And
going to keep on releasing all these
I'm gonna say
high-level
that every
Al-Qaeda
year
guys.
that it needs to be closed and not close it.
6 years in, still using that.
If we want maximum cooperation from other countries and industry in our fight against terrorist networks. So while some have
Except the
moved
ones
on
that
from
we
the
find.
debates over our surveillance programs, I have not. As promised, our intelligence agencies have worked hard with the recommendations of privacy advocates to increase transparency. and build more
Yes,
Wow,
they
this guy
have
should
the
be a
recommendations
comedian.
of privacy advocates that they have completely ignored.
country safe while strengthening privacy.
How are you strengthening privacy?
Looking
For themselves.
We put whistleblowers in jail.
Oh, okay. All right, yeah, I
sure
guess
we
so.
match.
They make
You mean
privacy
government
about what
privacy.
they're doing
Okay, yeah,
a lot more
that's
stronger.
great.
What they do is they just spy on us.
Yeah.
to meet new challenges. Not
And convince us we don't
I'm
need
from the
privacy
government. Don't
if we're
ask
not
me
doing
any
anything wrong.
questions.
leading always with the
This is the part where he's going to pretend that they're going to put restrictions on corporations sharing your data, when in reality he's pushing for the Cyber Intelligence Sharing Protection Act again, CISPA for the third time. That's the reality. He's trying to give the same corporations legal immunity if they share your data and spy on the government for them and share their data with the government.
just over a decade ago.
Right. Wants to encourage them sharing with the
It
government.
wasn't a liberal America or a conservative America.
And for those of you who watched the nightly news tonight, we played that 11-minute clip from some of Alex's movies in the early 2000s. Martial Law, Rise of the Police State 3, Total Enslavement, and then a little bit of Police State 2. He was talking about everything that's going on right now back then. Even before that.
Right.
He just happened to put in a documentary by then.
Yeah,
After
he was talking
talked
about
it for
the surveillance blimps, and they just launched the first one that's going, just this year, they launched the first surveillance blimp that's going to be looking right into your home.
Yeah, but
That's
the
the one they were
general that's
telling you about.
overseeing the project says, I promise you, we're not going to be staring at you. We're not going to be watching you as you drive up and down the road. It's for your protection. We're trying to monitor the East Coast so missiles don't come in.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, they put that blimp in the sky. It was for intercontinental ballistic missiles or something like that. It wasn't to surveil people. But
Too
even
bad
though
we
it
didn't
was in
think of that.
Wired, it was in Wired magazine that will spy on you through your dishwasher.
Too bad we didn't think of that during the Cold War, right?
Well, in the next
We would've
10
known
years,
if they
almost
was
every
launched.
American family is going to have up to 50 different items in their home that
Yeah,
will be
cruise
spying on
missiles.
them.
Yeah, we got a whole lot of those coming over here.
Yeah, it's a daily thing.
Yeah.
Proof that the vision itself
Those
is
North
misguided.
Korean cruise missiles actually swim across the ocean before they get here.
But there are too many people in this town who actually
Yeah, they got to give them a running start.
gridlock.
Time's
I'm
up.
sorry, all this comedy on network television we're watching right now is just bringing it out of me.
Yeah,
Time to unleash Team America.
I know how
yeah, it's probably in with that.
cynicism may be. But I still think the cynics are wrong. I still believe that we are one people. I still believe that together we can do great things.
I believe that too. But we have this
And if we
big
can't,
government
I
in the
got
way
my pen,
trying to
my phone.
stop
This
us
is
at every turn. Tapping our
the
phone,
apple
First,
pie
I'm gonna
encore.
take
taking
your
our
money.
Yeah.
America at its best.
Mom, apple pie, rah.
Seeing the hopeful
Team
young
America.
graduates
Yeah.
from New York to California. Our newest officers at West Point, Annapolis, Colorado Springs, New London.
Our newest fast food
More
workers.
with grieving families in Newtown. In Boston.
Newtown.
Yeah, he had to throw that in there.
Yeah.
In West Virginia. I've watched Americans beat back adversity from the Gulf Coast to the Great Plains, from Midwest assembly lines to
We've
the
also beat
Mid-Atlantic
back your
seaboard.
false